But Russian propaganda has really been over, not just overlooked or underlooked, but everyone just calling everyone. It's weird. It's almost like the Trump and the Mexican thing. So Trump doesn't like Mexicans, so therefore the right has to defend liking Mexicans. And with
Yeah.
Putin, it's like you're a Russian, you're a Russian. You're a Russian asset, you're a Russian asset on both sides calling each other that.
Yeah.
Therefore, the other side also has to defend themselves not being a Russian asset without making Russia look like, without getting tricked into liking Russia, which like apparently 25% of the right is like super pro Putin now. Like how the fuck did this happen?
Who was
You're not
that?
supposed to like your enemy out after them coming after you. You're supposed to like you and defend yourself from everyone else.
Yeah, what was that quote you threw up last week with the Russian Nazis going after the Ukrainian Nazis fighting over the European Nazis, and it's all the Nazis. Yeah, it's the Nazis after the Nazis after the Nazis. The Russians aren't Nazis, okay?
So the very rare Soviet Nazis. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, they hated the Nazis.
All wars involving white people now require that all sides accuse each other of being Nazis. Yeah. It's the Russian Nazis versus the Ukrainian Nazis, and the Ukrainian Nazis are backed by the left-wing American Nazis, except for the right-wing American Nazis who like Putin because he's a Nazi.
and none of this, all of that makes sense, but none of it makes any sense at all. Right? It's like
yeah, I mean so what I didn't finish in last week's episode is when I was explaining the American, the Chinese, and the Russian style of propaganda. And I got through the other two. I'll do a quick recap. With China, it's pretty simple. Firewall, whatever the fuck you got to firewall and push your nationalist shit. God have mercy on you if you go another direction. Granted, there's some arguments that like developed China has more freedom than the a lot of places in the West. That's just kind of how it is. With Russia, it's just verbal diarrhea. Just throw out everything you can, but make sure, as we saw with that post, that each party is addressing the other as your enemy, which for Russia, you know, Soviets, Nazis. And there you go. You're helping fuel dissent and division in a foreign nation, which is why we see left-wing groups carrying Russian flags and shit like that and embracing their propaganda, and also right-wing groups doing that while also being opposed to those other groups. With the American strategy, it seems to be almost like, well, let's rely that the normie is good enough. Let's rely that the normal person who isn't on either of the extremes is going to have some kind of baseline to shun everything else. And let's have our propaganda try to tailor to that group, because acknowledge that America is going through an oversensitized media, and let's try to rein that in. And to me, it's like every foreign nation is trying to cater to the extremists on either side. The American government is trying to either honeypot those people or get intelligence from those people on either side, or use those to further making the extremists look a certain way, therefore tying it to a foreign nation. And that's why it's like the way you win is you just be fucking normal.